Hola, amigos. Okay, I'm gonna be doing some tests here. Something was not going well with my audio last night. So, here I am. I think I had some of it figured out. So, I'm gonna do that opening sequence again. Well, actually, what I'm gonna do is bring up. And then go here. And let me bring this up on my phone. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. So that sounds pretty good. All right, so we're going to be doing a lot of talking today. What are we going to be talking about? I don't know. You tell me. Is there a little bit of a... Is there a little bit of a weird delay there? There is. Why is that there? Oh, you know what? Maybe I need this one. Yep, I sure do. So let me restart that. That was weird. Sorry about that. So maybe if I take that down to 50%. That sounds pretty good right there. So let's see. Check that. All right, here we go. Hello? Shit, I thought that was So I'm going to be talking here, and I'm going to listen for the highs and see what they sound like. Now I'm going to listen for the mids. Okay, so now I think I have another one of those. So now I got to find the volume of the iPad. What was I doing? I forget what I was doing. right, so let me go to. Oh, yeah, I remember what I was doing. So, can you hear that? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'm going to try something now. Damn it. No! So, we're only getting one side of my face there. Is that cool looking? Does that look pretty cool? Well, we'll have to deal with that noise right there. But I kind of like that look. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Those two are off. So that makes it look pretty cool. Oh, maybe I need to. So those two are off. This one's on. Let me go down to that's pretty dope. I think I need to push that down a little bit. Let me stop it. So I need to take that down just like a little bit. All right, now let's hear this. Okay, that is. I'm gonna turn the. Let me see. Um, so you can hear me talking over this. I turned that off, and I want to hear the news bit. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. So, we're going to talk a little news today. There's some crazy shit going on right now. Alright, dude, I think that sounds like it's it. Let me go back over here. Let me stop this. Thursday. I almost said April. It's Thursday, March 25th, 2021. This is a trial run. I don't know when I'm going to air my first episode, but I think I've got all the audio figured out. I was having issues with some levels yesterday, but like I said, I think I got it figured out. I'm just like a mush-mouthed idiot, and I'm going to do this little show here. There's a couple changes. Like, this is from a podcast that I was doing last summer. There was a pandemic, which is still kind of going on. That kind of put that on the back burner. I tried to push through a little bit, but it was just kind of hard getting people to come in physically. And then I moved my stuff. I moved my studio from one place to another, and acquired some more gear. And I'm in a much better place physically when it comes to this. So here I am. Now, I've also kind of changed like the way I'm going to do things a little bit. Like, I was interviewing people locally, which was great. You can go back on my, like, what I'm still going to do, I'm still going to air this live, and then what I'll do is I'll publish it. It'll be on YouTube, Facebook, and also on all of your podcasting hosts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all that. But what I was doing, I was interviewing local people that I found inspiring, I found interesting, positive, and overall good people. And, I just liked them, so whatever. And I brought them in and I interviewed them, and we had fun. And like I said, you can find those on my page. But I'm like, you know what? I want to take it to a different level. I want to kind of explore the underbelly of society, just like everybody else. Everybody else has a podcast, and they're all, doing all this stuff. And, like, one of my favorite people, I don't know too well, but they lead by example, is Bucky Cutright. And he is just taking it to a different level with his social media. And if you don't know Bucky Cutright, I interviewed him last year, and he has Booze and Booze tours, where you can either walk around in downtown Columbus, Ohio, or you can ride on a bus and go from place to place. And I think he even takes these journeys around to like the different serpent mounds and all the fascinating places in the great state of Ohio. And you can drink while you do it. And he's a great storyteller. He knows everything about haunted Ohio and downtown Columbus and Chillicothe and Newark and all these great places. But he's really taken it to another level with his social media, and I hope he understands that, like, people are watching, and it's very entertaining, and it's keep up that good work. And but I've always been fascinated by the unknown, the macabre. I'm a big horror fan. I'm a huge skeptic, but at the same time, it's like you want to believe the answers are out there. That was the X-Files, I want to believe. So I kind of want to take it that direction. I found some great people coming up that I want to interview. There's Nicole Coleman, who is a empathetic. I can't even say it. She does this 5D dating where it's like. It's hard to explain. Just watch the episode and you'll see. She's great. I'll put a link to her social media. And I'm going to interview tonight Stephen Hawley Martin, who is an award-winning author, and he pretty much writes about like the metaphysical, like the spiritual awakening, how to transcend, kind of like how to build your own destiny and make things happen. Kind of like where there's a will, there's a way. So I'll be talking to him tonight. It's pre-recorded. He could only join me the other day, and I'm trying to do these on Wednesdays. Today's Thursday, and this is a trial run. This is probably going to be aired. Maybe it will. Who knows? If it goes well. And so the whole point of this is I'm taking this in a different direction. I want to do things live. I want to have a phone number that you can call. I'll give you a little sneak peek right now. It is right there. Check it out. You can't call it right now. Well, maybe you could. I'm not too sure. I got my computer open, so maybe you could call it right now. But anyway, I'm gonna take that off of there. So I'm gonna do things live. I don't know how many people are gonna watch. I don't know, how many people are going to call or take part of this, but I don't really care. I've got a bunch of things going on. I've got this fabulous place that I call my second home. I've got a new podcast that I'm going to be. We actually started production already, but we haven't published anything, and that's passenger shaming. I don't know if anybody follows that, but the great SK, who is the brander of passenger shaming, hired me to be her producer, and we do that. Those episodes will be dropping every week. The audio will be on Wednesdays, video on Thursdays. So there's a lot going on right now. I don't know what's going on with Devin Brown. I was producing his podcast, Wait, You Were Mormon. He's kind of taking a break, and I saw on his social media that he was going to be coming back and producing more at a lesser level, but regardless, he's supposedly coming back. And so that's pretty much what's going on in my world. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I wanted to have I wanted to have a co-host, because doing this live producing on the fly is really hard. It's like, especially with somebody like me, I have mild to severe ADD. So trying to keep up with everything is, it's very hard. Regardless, I'm here and I'm doing it. So I was going to have a co-host, and she couldn't find time to do it, and that's totally cool, man. She's got a lot of stuff going on. I mentioned her in one of my last shows, and I apologize for that. I probably shouldn't have, because we weren't really for sure. I didn't say her last name or anything, which is cool, but she's a really cool person, and she's very, very insightful and down to earth, and I appreciate that about you, and don't ever change. But anyway, so as I was developing this project, I had a partner, and we were talking about stuff, and we had this really good idea about using puppets and everything, and having people come in and voice the puppets, but then at the very end turn it around, so it's hard to explain. Anyway, I don't have that partner anymore, unfortunately, but I still have the puppets, so they may be introduced at some point down the road. I'm not positive on that, but at least I still have them. To be honest, I'd probably rather those go away and have the partner back, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So anyway, here we are, and what I'll probably do is start off with a little news bit and talk about what's going on. For example, Hulu has a new show starting soon, April 15th, I think, or no, it's April 20th, by God. April 20th, it's called Sasquatch. And I don't know if it's episodic or if it's just one episode or what, but the first episode takes place in Humboldt County, California. And what else is in Humboldt County, California? The ganj, the weed, the chronic. And, it takes a turn where these two proprietors of some dope get torn up limb from limb. And this series takes a behind-the-scenes look at that massacre. And I'm pretty excited to watch that. Also, pardon my texting. Also, something happened last year when the Trump administration came out, or like basically when the House and the Senate created this package deal for the stimulus and all that. I forget what it's called, but they did this thing where they're like, giving all these people money. Thank you. I dug it and I still have it. It's tucked away in my pocket. Anyway, they made this stimulus package, and included in the stimulus package was an air protection clause or whatever. And they had to take the money from this protection clause and I need to stop. They had to explain all the stuff that's in there has to be public. So one of the things that's in that is hold on. I'm forgetting my one of the things that's in that is I wonder if that's too loud. One of the things that's in that stimulus package is that they have to make public all of why the money is going there or whatever. And guess what? That includes UFOs, bro. UFOs. No diggity. So at some point, by law, they should announce why we need protection from UFOs. Well, if they say that we need protection from UFOs, then it also means that we probably have been visited by UFOs. Okay? We probably have been visited by UFOs. So that is set to go into effect like by June 1st, I think, which is this motherfucker's birthday. So one of the things that I'm also going to be doing, I can turn this off now. One of the things that I'm also going to be doing is interviewing people. I told you earlier that I'm going to be interviewing. There's a person coming up soon. Let me get her name real quick. She is in Lisbon, Portugal. And let me see. Lisbon. I always forget. Oh, crap. Lisbon. I can't spell. Her name is Carrie Cohan. And Carrie Cohan, speaking of UFOs, has actually a contactee. She has been abducted, And I'm find that fascinating. I don't ever want to be like seriously abducted by extraterrestrials. However, it would kind of be cool to see what their ships look like. It would be cool to see like how they talk and how they eat and how they poop and pee. But anything that would be frightening would kind of give me a heart attack. Probably, I probably wouldn't survive a real situation like that. I would probably have a heart attack. I would most definitely, and I wouldn't be able to take my medicine. I have a lot of medicine that I have to take. So anyhow, so that is coming up soon. That'll be in a couple weeks. So like I said, that is the news. We've got that show on Hulu. We've got some UFO crap coming up. And then we have interviews. Tonight I've got Stephen Hawley Martin. I will bring that up here in a minute. And we also have a phone number that will be coming up that people can call. And like I said, this will be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesdays. It's perfect time, man. Put it on your phone in your car while you're driving home. I might even do some traffic reports. But I don't know if I want to do traffic reports because, say, if you're listening to me and you're in Atlanta, or say you're in San Antonio, Texas, what good is that going to do you? I mean, I could be like, hey, there's a hold on a second. There's a wreck on the corner of 3rd and Town Street. So keep your eyes peeled. You want to make a detour. There's a detour that goes down High Street. You can take High Street. You can take Grant. Is there a Grant Street? You can take Washington. You can take you can take 71. Go that way. Also, you want to stay away from the whole north side. There's oh man, I did see that there was a tornado in Birmingham, Alabama. Thoughts and prayers go out down there, man. Good vibes, nothing but good vibes. So, that's no good. Seems like there's a lot more tornadoes going on down there in the south, like Alabama, Mississippi area, than there used to. Historically, they used to be kind of more in the plains. The Oklahoma, Kansas, Wizard of Oz. So anyway, yeah, I could do the weather if I wanted to. Let me see. I could also do the money report, but I'm not. I really don't care about that stuff. Yeah. All right. That's cool. So anyway, that's where we're at. If you have any requests for types of interviews that you'd like for me to do, you can always either send me an email. I will have that posted in the description, and you can also comment or what have you. So my first guest, I found him while I was looking for interesting people, and he definitely jumped out. He is an educator. He has his own podcast. He had his own podcast. I don't think he does it anymore. He's an interviewer. He does a lot of interviews, and he's an interviewee, and he's an award-winning author. So over the years, he's interviewed a ton of people who have experiences with NDEs. NDEs is like a near-death survivor type thing, or a near-death experience. So he interviewed survivors of those. He's interviewed psychics and researchers into the paranormal, quantum physicists and medical doctors. And he's come to the conclusion that humankind is on the cusp of a transition to a new understanding of the true nature of reality. What that means, we'll find out. I think I will ask him that question. To share what he has learned and to help speed the transition, which he believes will result in a rebirth of optimism and the world becoming a better place to live and work and just be. He has written well over a dozen books, many of which have achieved bestseller status on Amazon, and that's pretty cool. I have known other people that write books and publish on Amazon, and I think it's it is what it is. Not everybody likes Amazon, but they're spreading the word. And so anyway, he's the only 3-time winner of the Writer's Digest Book Award, having won first prize twice for fiction and once for nonfiction, and has also won first prize for visionary fiction from independent publisher and first prize for nonfiction from USA Book News. Stephen has appeared on countless programs over the years, sharing his stories and insight. Oh crap, I need to move my camera to over here because that's where it's going to be. So he's won a lot of prizes, which is awesome, right, Stephen? You're waiting backstage, right? Good. Stephen has appeared on countless programs over the years, sharing his stories and insight. Thank you for appearing on my program, Stephen. Welcome to the SMS live show. And first and foremost, I do want to ask how you are.
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Jason, for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's awesome. You're my first remote guest, and I've looked at your website, and it's really thorough. You've got pretty much all the bases covered when it comes to I don't know if you really want to call it spirituality, but it's more or less the meta and metaphysics. And I was just scanning over all your books or your pieces that you've written. You've got quite the extensive catalog of everything that I've always grown. I grew up with Art Bell, and and I loved Art Bell, and there's a lot of things that you cover that he covered too. So what caused you to question the materialistic view of reality you were brought up to hold versus the more scientific?
Well, that's a good question, Jason. I appreciate you asking that because there was a specific event that took place. I guess I was in my mid-20s, and I had what's called an out-of-body experience.
Oh, okay.
I could go into detail of how it happened, but let me just say that when I was up kind of bumping against the ceiling, looking down at my body, lying on the bed, it occurred to me that that was impossible based on what I believed was the case as far as the brain creating consciousness. Since I was up here, my body was down there, and my brain was down there. How could I be looking at myself from up here? So anyway, that really started me thinking, and I've kind of been on a quest ever since to figure that out. And the results, all those books you see on my website, and my the radio show I had, and so forth.
So about how long ago was that actually? Was that when you were young, like real young, or a young adult?
It was when I would say I was probably about 25 years old. I was out in the working world. I lived in an apartment with 2 other guys. I was single. I was working at an ad agency. And it was a Saturday night, and I had the flu. And then I did some other things I shouldn't have done, And anyway, I ended up bouncing on the ceiling, looking down. And next thing I knew, I woke up the next morning and I felt fine. But
right, that's interesting. So So you're saying that was probably the birth of your interest in, like, you just had to ask, you had to find out what happened. Why did that happen?
Well, yeah, I was brought up by parents who were scientific materialists. They believed that nothing existed that you couldn't see under a microscope, which is pretty much the standard belief of most scientists today. At least that's what they say they believe. I don't see how they can, because there's so much evidence that contradicts that. But so, if you're a scientific materialist, you can't believe that your consciousness can be outside of your body looking at it, or because it's got to be contained inside your skull, with your brain, little synapses jumping across whatever, to
Right.
create consciousness, whatever they think does. But that's not what creates consciousness. Your brain doesn't create consciousness. Your brain's the receiver of consciousness that integrates it with your body.
Right. One would call this taboo knowledge, which brings me to your book of that title, Taboo Knowledge. What exactly do you consider taboo knowledge? Is it something that, like, we shouldn't know, or is it something that we really need to come more or less come to grips to understand what the taboo knowledge would be?
Well, taboo knowledge is the truth about who you are and what you are and the true nature of reality. That's what taboo knowledge is, because our scientists still hold on to this materialistic idea, this idea that nothing exists except material substance, which is totally false. It's the premise of science, accepted science today. There are a lot of scientists who don't believe it anymore, but they will not admit it usually because they're afraid of being scorned by their peers. The truth is that I believe, and I present a lot of evidence to support this, that consciousness is primary, that it is the ground of being of all that is, and that's where everything comes from, including you and me, and the material world that we live in. And there are quantum physicists who believe that as well. You might say that the Hindu rishis that lived 4,000 years ago were right when they said that Verda, they called it Verda, V-E-D-A, which, when you boil it down, is consciousness is the ground of being. Now, a quantum physicist who buys into this theory would say they wouldn't call it consciousness or Verda, they'd call it the unified field. But to me, the unified field and Verda and consciousness are really all the same thing.
Right. So, okay, so if you're saying that we're not our bodies, we're not our, your arms, your legs, or whatever, and you're definitely not things that aren't you out there in the real world. You are your consciousness. When does that happen? Is that a learned thing? Are there people out there that don't have this?
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking there, but I would say that what we're spiritual beings who are having, this is a cliche nowadays, I think.
Okay.
We're spiritual, but it's true. Many cliches are true. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And we have a subconscious mind that some people might call the soul, that's been built up over many, many incarnations on this earth. And we reincarnate periodically. We come back for various reasons. But at our very core, we are that consciousness, and we are all one. You hear mystics say throughout the ages that all is one. Well, that's true. And we, if you really stop and think about it, if you think about what's at the back of your mind, the consciousness, the silent observer that sees things happening and can observe your own thoughts, that is that ground of being. And we all share it. We think we're different because we have that subconscious mind. We have their conscious mind and memories that we built up over this lifetime, which makes us think we're separate. But at the core, we're not separate. We're all one. We're all that one consciousness. There's only one organism, one mind, and we're part of it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So basically individuality, in your theory, does individuality exist? Is there such, I mean, we still have free will, correct?
We do have free will, yeah. That's one of the big important things about uh, coming into this reality is that we have free will, and we learn from the actions that we take and the mistakes that we make that come back to haunt us. Or, you might look at it as there's really nothing bad that ever happens. There are only opportunities to learn from your own mistakes,
Right.
because we bring it all on ourselves, whatever happens.
Okay, so just a few minutes ago, when you were explaining this consciousness collectively, you said on this earth. So
Yeah.
are we restricted to the spirituality in the path that is on this earth? There's no other chances of life forms out there that we could evolve into, or when we pass, move on to a different world?
Oh, I think that there probably have been many, many other worlds, and many certainly in the physical universe. This can't possibly be the only planet that has life on it, intelligent life, and just look at all the UFOs that are spinning around nowadays.
Right.
And then there are other dimensions. I believe that we are on a path. We're on the whole purpose of life, and I believe is evolution, and that we're in a stage of evolution that we're really transforming or evolving into a higher level of consciousness. And when we do, we may well live in some other reality than this one, or perhaps this one will become converted somehow. I mean, if you know about the law of one and all the raw material that's raw material that was channeled back in the early 80s.
Right.
They believe that we're making a transition now from what they call third density to fourth density, which is third density being aware of self, and fourth density being aware that we're all part of one big self.
Well, I mean, since you brought that up, I've been interested in all this, and recently had something happen, and I believe that it could have been karma. Can you explain what exactly is karma and if it exists?
I do believe it exists. It is typically a little bit misunderstood. I mean, most people who think of karma think it is cause and effect. You do something bad comes back at you. But it's really more than that. It's more like a memory. I think it was Edgar Cayce who said that karma really is a teaching tool. And let me give you an example of karma the way I'm talking about it. Suppose you probably know somebody, man or woman, who always seems to attract members of the opposite sex who treat them poorly, who abuse them.
Oh, yes, we know that very well.
And it's a kind of serial thing. Well, that's karma. But what causes it is that the person who attracts those people who abuse them has a low opinion of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the metaphysical laws is that like attracts like. So that person attracts people of the opposite sex who have the same low opinion that that person has of themselves. And that the way to overcome that karma is to come to the realization that you are a spiritual being, have a physical experience, and you're really a magnificent spiritual being, and you don't have to put up with that kind of thing. You need to develop a higher opinion of yourself, and when you do, that karma will be dissolved.
So, okay, kind of along the same lines as that is, I consider myself like a scientific pantheist, in the terms of, we really need to take care of this world we live in, or live on, and there are things that are definitely scientific in nature, I'm not denying any kind of spirituality or, the existence of souls or karma or all those other laws of the unknown. But I do kind of think about like, how do you call it? Like astrology. Like I definitely think that there's something like when you're born at a certain time in a certain place that kind of predetermines your energy moving forward throughout how you take care of yourself or care for yourself. Do you agree to a certain extent in astrology?
It's not something that I have studied like I have the other things that we've been talking about, but I do believe there's something to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, certainly Edgar Casey, who was able to access the Akashic records, and so much of what he said proved to be true. And he believed that that astrology, there was definitely something to it.
Something to it.
It does sort of set your personality or become part of your course in life. And yeah, but again, I'm not an expert. I've had my charts done by an astrologist who
Mm-hmm.
seemed to get a lot of things right. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of them are really good at it. So when we talk about the information age that we're moving into, I guess we could say that if there's, like definitely in my belief system that there's life on other planets that could be further developed than we are. However, with that said, they also say that this is, since it's an information age, that it could be an age of Aquarius. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's really what the raw material is talking about, moving from third density to fourth density, the age of Aquarius. And if the zodiac, there's no doubt that it began, I guess, in 1987. We began moving into the age of Aquarius as far as the zodiac is concerned. We were in the age of Pisces, which, of course, the fish, that's Jesus. So, the last 2,000 years were that. And we're moving into a new age of Aquarius where, on Earth at least, we're going to become more aware of who we really are, as we've discussed. Mm-hmm. And so I think the two things are absolutely parallel. And what it's just a different way of saying the same thing.
Okay. Can you explain the third density and the fourth density and the differences?
Yeah, according to Ra, there are 7 densities.
Okay.
The first density is mineral, like a planet with no life on it. Mm-hmm. Water, mineral, no life. The second density is planet with life, like plants and animals, but life that is not aware, doesn't have self-consciousness. Third density is life that is aware of self, that can sort of step outside itself and consider its own life and its own thoughts and the impact of them and all that sort of thing. That's where we are now, third density. That's us. Fourth density is the realization that we were all one, that there's one big mind that we're all part of, and we seem to be different because we have our own memories and thoughts and ego that has developed, but we're really all one. When, as Jesus said, when you've done this to one of these, my brothers and sisters, you've done it to me. He realized that he was one with all. And that is fourth density. Fifth density is where we really get a lot of information and intelligence and put it together with that. And so that science and awareness of the one life really combines. Sixth density is, that's fifth density is when you concentrate on the science part.
Mm-hmm.
Sixth density is where the two come together, and seventh density is where we return to the source. And Ra would say, think it all starts over again. So those are the densities.
Okay. So following that trajectory, are these things that like is just part of like time or space as we know it, like right now, or are these things that we have to achieve as a species?
I think it's what we're talking about here is the human race.
Okay.
And that on other planets, Ra was from Venus, a civilization that developed there billions of years ago that has now progressed all the way to sixth density and no longer incarnates in the physical universe. And, people say Venus, well, that's not habitable. But the NSA has come out recently and said that 2 billion years ago, Venus was habitable, that it would have been conducive to life, that it had liquid water and large amounts and so on. So it's quite possible that Ra it really did evolve on Venus. So that civilization now in the sixth density really is not one individual, but all the individuals of that civilization that evolved together into the sixth density. And that would be what the human race is going through now. It's probably going to take us a lot longer than it took Ra on Venus, because we tend to be a very warring kind of civilization, where we're always fighting each other and stuff like that. And apparently that wasn't the case with Ra. They made it through pretty fast. But this fourth density, according to Ra, is going to take us 30 billion years, so we got a long way to go.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. So in other words, we're kind of evolving cyclically ourselves individually, and also as a race, as a human species.
Correct.
Okay.
You probably are familiar with the Michael material, where he's got a whole thing where you go through something like, 35 different levels or whatever before you reach and start over again. So, yeah.
Are you talking about lifetimes, 35 lifetimes?
Well, I think it's like, it's been a while since I've read the Michael material, but I think it's more than 35 lifetimes.
Okay.
It's probably something like 35 different stages, each one having a certain number of lifetimes.
Okay. Also, if we're experiencing this as a human race collectively, and then individually, what are we trying to work on? What are we trying to achieve individually? Because I know you also study afterlife, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But what are we trying to achieve individually?
We're trying to perfect our souls. Have you probably seen the movie Groundhog Day?
Yes.
And Bill Murray's character, of course, starts out as a jerk, and everything he encounters that day, he kind of just
Mm-hmm.
messes it up, makes it worse. And finally, toward the end of the movie, he's treating people with love and respect and so on, and things go well, and he does a lot of good. And then he gets to move on to February 3rd. He gets the girl too.
Right.
So, that's really to me an allegory or a metaphor for what we're doing when we incarnate. Each one of his February 2nds was an incarnation, you might say, and he meets the same problems or obstacles each time, and he learns to deal with them in a better way. Finally he makes it, and so that's kind of how I see life. One incarnation after another, until we finally get it right.
Okay, so that kind of in the definition of reincarnation is to are you reliving the same life and you're just changing, adapting each time to perfect that soul? Or are you actually like, some people say you're going to come back as like a cow or a dog or whatever.
I don't think you come back as a cow or a dog. What's that transmutation or something like that? I don't. I think you come back as a human, and you're not going to live exactly the same life. But before you come, you choose your parents, you choose your place you're going to come. You make decisions because there's certain things that you want to experience and accomplish. There are things you want to work on, and you want to set up a situation where that'll be possible. You'll also probably have some souls that you're close to that will incarnate at around the same time, and you guys will kind of work it out together. So yeah, I mean it's not the same life over and over. It's a different life, but
so how would you explain the I mean, if that's the situation, how would you explain those unfortunate events where people are mistreated or even worse, like murdered or like by their family members? If you're choosing your family, your parents, are those just people who don't know? Are they reincarnated like they just didn't know what was going on?
Well, I think that, as you said, or as we've talked about earlier, you have free will, and you could do things that are real bad mistakes and cause a lot of problems as a result and build karma that you're going to have to deal with. So, things can go wrong, and they do go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I don't want to go way too far out of our lane here, but you have researched psychics, and I've had experiences with psychics. How obviously we know there's psychics that are just pulling the wool over our eyes, but how are they actually? Because if a soul is reincarnated, how are they pulling that energy out of something that technically shouldn't be there if that person who had passed is being reincarnated?
I'm not sure what you're asking there. I mean, you incarnate, but your higher self stays on the other side all the time.
Oh, okay.
And
it's your consciousness.
Only part of you really reincarnates, and the other entities that you've been. I mean, it's kind of a collective. It's hard to explain, but
I think I think I feel what you're saying.
Yeah, and of course another theory is that there's, we've talked about the Akashic records, the fact that there's a memory of every thought, every deed, everything that's ever happened is recorded in what might be today we would call the cloud, but in spiritual terms it's the Akashic records, the Akasha, and so all that material is there for all time, and that's what Edgar Casey was able to access that and bring in information that may have happened a long time ago. I've got a book about Edgar Casey if anybody's interested that kind of gets into all that, but it's really fascinating.
Is that Edgar Casey, The Meaning of Life and What to Do About It?
That's the name of it.
Okay. Yeah, right. I was looking at that one this morning. You've written a lot of really interesting books. I see you wrote one on extrasensory
ESP.
Yes, ESP.
Yeah. Extrasensory perception.
What?
Yeah.
Let's hear about that. I want to hear about that.
Well, the book is really a personal story about going to spend a weekend at the College of Metaphysics in Missouri, in Windyville, Missouri. And the purpose of the weekend was to find out what your dharma is. Each of us have a dharma, which is a purpose, something that we're particularly good at, that if we can learn what that is and how to use it to serve others, will give us a really good life. Well, in the process of doing that, I learned that I have certain psychic abilities.
Okay.
which have to do with what is the word? It's where you touch something, feel something, and you get a memory from it or a feeling of where of what it was used for. And in this case, what I was able to do was from a ring, talk about who wore it and what the purpose of it was and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, at the College of Metaphysics, they explained how to develop your psychic abilities, which I explain in this book, which basically involves your several layers of consciousness in you, and if you can get those all aligned, you can eventually tap into the universal mind, which again is the Akashic records, or the Akasha, and it explains how to do that. Now, I don't claim to be a great psychic.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some abilities, but I know people who are, and I've talked to people, and I've dealt with people who are really quite amazing with their abilities.
Yeah. So do you think possibly that your experience that happened when you were 25 had something to do with your abilities that you didn't realize that you had before?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I didn't think about it till much later, but I think it definitely opened up my mind from being a scientific materialist and believing that nothing existed except material substance, to realizing that there are other dimensions and that our consciousness is not confined to our skulls. And I think one of the main ways to develop it is through meditation. If you can do that daily for 15, 20 minutes, maybe once or twice a day,
mm-hmm.
you can help develop your own psychic abilities too.
Okay, so I was going to ask you this question about this other book that you wrote, Life After Death. Okay, so if you have reincarnation and you're basically living over and over trying to perfect your soul, whether you realize it or not, when does life after death begin? When does actually death begin?
Well, it's when your brain stops functioning, and in fact, one of the reasons the University of Virginia, which has been studying this for 60 years, one of the things they say is that, and point to as evidence that the brain does not create consciousness, is that many people who have been in a coma, perhaps had dementia or Alzheimer's, right before they die, they will become very lucid. And it's like their brain is disengaging, it is separating from their consciousness. And they're able to talk and communicate with people around them, and then very shortly after that, they die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a phenomenon that's seen often in nursing homes and other places where people who are in that situation are. And so I would say that death occurs when your consciousness separates from your brain, and eventually, and very soon after that, from your body.
Have you just to stay on that topic, where people, when they start to lose consciousness and they're actually dying, that moment right before death, have you heard of how your body creates DMT?
I don't know what is DMT.
DMT is a chemical compound. It's dimethyltryptamine, and your body creates it. And it's also found naturally in some plants. There's a plant in Peru. I can't really. It's like bee cappy or something like that. It's a vine or root. Ancient. This goes back a long time ago, like thousands and thousands of years ago. You can dig up this plant and take the roots and clean them and boil them in water. And eat these roots. They make them into a tea. But the thing about it is, you can't just eat the root because your stomach acids will neutralize the compound. You have to mix it with like a base or whatever to cut down the acids, so your body will absorb the DMT. And what that molecule does, they call it the spirit molecule. In your brain, it's produced by the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the last gland in your brain to go. So the last thing in your mind that is happening is this drug that's produced by the pituitary gland is shooting through your veins, and it's making you hallucinate. However, there's been studies done. If there's this drink called ayahuasca, you should check this out, ayahuasca, because it's got the DMT in it. People go down to Peru, and now it's legal in some states here, and do these retreats where they're connecting with their inner self by drinking this tea with this DMT in it. And they're having, like, there's circumstances where, or situations where these people will all be together, or they'll be separately in different huts or whatever, and they're all seeing the same people. They're all having the same experiences. And a lot of times you'll see your family, you'll see demons, you'll see angels, depending on where you are spiritually. And a lot of shaman and those say that this is what happens when you die. When you die, that last thing that goes is a pituitary gland, and that secretion is to aid you to make that pass into the afterlife. But I'll send you some information on it. I'll email you, and I'll give you that term if you could check it out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's interesting. I have talked to a number of people who've had near-death experiences. One of the most fascinating ones that I write about in one of my books, don't remember which one, is for Pam Reynolds. Actually, you could YouTube Pam Reynolds' near-death experience and probably find it.
Okay.
There's a video about it where she had two aneurysms in her brain that were inoperable, and so in effect she had the blood drained from her body, and they packed ice around her so she wouldn't decay and all, and she was like dead. She was a cadaver. They opened up her skull and they went in and fixed the aneurysms, and when that was happening, she left her body. She watched the operation going on in the operating room. She was able to describe things that were happening there that there's no way she could have known because she was totally out. I mean, she was dead. And then, of course, she goes through the tunnel and visits with her grandmother and some other relatives who've died, and eventually comes back. But, that would be an example. I don't know about whether the gland was engaged then. Maybe it was. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've had my share of fights and whatever. I've been knocked out, but I've never had my heart stop. I've never went brain, unconscious, completely flatlined or whatever.
Right.
It's all interesting. That's one of the reasons why I reached out to you, is because you spoke about, or you've written about, and you've heard many stories about near-death experiences. And do you think that's part of basically your purpose? Like you said that earlier in the discussion, that people, you keep coming back or whatever. You're looking for your purpose, and do you think sometimes somebody will come back because they're not done yet? Their purpose hasn't been
absolutely.
resolved.
Absolutely. No question about it in my mind that you come back because you have some sort of mission or something you want to accomplish, something you didn't maybe accomplish before in a previous life, and so you want to come back and do it. And as that weekend that I went to School of Metaphysics, I've been out there a couple times, mm-hmm. but that one was about finding your Dharma. And according to the psychic who uh, went into the kasha and found out what my dharma is. It is, she called it omniperception. I have an ability to see things from all angles and to kind of process all that in a way that allows me to kind of see things that others don't.
Right.
And that my dharma is to use that to try to help others see what the true nature of reality is, what really is going on, why they're here, and so on and so forth. So that took place about, I think it was in 2003. So that really got me going on writing these books and so forth. And I guess you could say they're the result of that.
No, that's great. That's I like to hear that. Everybody has. I believe everybody has a purpose. I think there's a lot of people who kind of turn their back on that purpose.
And I think you can make a big mistake by using. You may have a talent or a dharma that you can use it in different ways. You could use it to make a lot of money, perhaps, but that may not make you happy. If you used it to help others in some way, it would probably be a more fulfilling life for you,
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I mean, I know you're not a, well, I don't know this, but I'm assuming that you're not a psychic who charges people for readings. Do you think that's,
No.
I mean, is that something that like is unethical, or is it something that's okay if it's legit?
Being a psychic and charging others, I suppose it's okay. Edgar Casey, who was probably the most famous psychic, at least in the 20th century, called the Sleeping Prophet, never charged for his services. He did take donations, however.
Yeah.
And that is what sustained him. But he felt that he should not charge for it. And he would not answer questions like who's going to win the World Series or the Kentucky Derby,
Well, I mean, I think that might diminish your abilities if even if you were right 100% of the time, people, I think the negative would outweigh the positive after a while. But, I was looking at some of your other books that you've written. What is your definition, or can you explain magic? What do you define magic as?
Yeah. Magic, the fact of the matter is that our thoughts are things. That's another thing Edgar Casey said. Thoughts are things, and they can cause miracles or tragedies. And magic is based on belief, If you believe something thoroughly, it's likely to happen. And so there, in that, you might be looking at that book that says Actual Magic or Real Magic or whatever. What was the name of that book?
I think it's Real Magic. Yeah. It's Actual Magic, expanded edition.
Actual Magic.
The Secret of Manifesting Your Desires. There you go. The secret.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me how to manifest my desires. I mean, is that something that anybody can do? Or?
Yeah, I think anybody can do it. But I think, first of all, like Edgar Casey, you have to be doing it for something other than money. Or, you're not going to visualize a Mercedes and have it appear in your driveway. I mean, it has to be really going along with your dharma, going with the flow, with the energy. And it has to do with belief. And in that book, I give a 7-step process for cementing your belief in something and then refreshing it as you go along. And one of the things that can happen is that you anticipate something too much, and that keeps it from happening. I mean, that's all kind of explained in the book, but
yeah,
magic is based on belief. As let's see, was it Jesus who said, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to believe that you already have it, and
I
then
see.
it'll come. There was a guy back at the turn of the 20th century uh, whose name was Thomas Troward, I believe, and he had this whole formula about how thoughts are things and how you can control them. And I did get into he seemed to really know what he was going on. He spent a lot of time in India, and I guess he learned some from the swamis there and so forth. But he really it's an interesting to see what he had to say about it.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question, and if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But it has to do with Dharma, and people's purpose. Do you think possibly, like I don't know if you remember that show, Quantum Leap, where Sam Beckett, I think that was his name, would go back in time, or he would just flip all over the place, and it was quantum physics, and he would enter into a body of somebody, and then he would have to figure out like what he was there for to get this person through to continue on or whatever. So, and then you ask people, if you had the chance, if you went back and you could like kill Hitler, would you do that? Knowing, what he did, would you kill him? Could his dharma had been what he did?
You know, it could. It could. He was a horrible, all that, murdering the Jews and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. Uh, it's hard to get your mind around. But, there's also the idea that there really are no accidents,
Right.
that there's a purpose behind everything, but we just don't see it often. And who knows? I have a good friend who remembers several of his past lives, and one of them was as a child in the Jewish ghetto in Warsaw during World War II. And in this life, he was rounded up and put on a train and went to Auschwitz with everybody else who was on the train, who then was marched off of the train and told they were going into the showers, and they went into the gas chamber and they were gassed. And he recalls leaving his body and helping to guide the other souls that were leaving their body to the light. And so that was his purpose in that lifetime. So it was a very brief life. He was only 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
So who knows? He has other lifetimes that he remembers that were, longer, and one of them he committed suicide, and he later on had an experience in this life where he was thinking about committing suicide, and essentially was contacted by his guides, told him not to do it because then he'd have to go back and deal with that same problem again in the next one. So it's interesting, but I can't really say. Hitler, maybe he did have a purpose. I don't know, or maybe he was just a Lucifer incarnate. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's it's fascinating to think about because we are where we are because of every single event that's ever happened.
Yep.
If they, that whole butterfly effect. If one thing, one thing dropped on the floor and I stopped and picked it up, that could have altered the entire existence of humankind.
Yeah, there's that poem about the want of a nail. The horse was lost, and you go through all these things, and then the battle was lost, and then the war was lost, and so on. So
Right.
yeah, because of a nail on the shoe of a horse.
We talked about. I'm talking with Stephen Hawley Martin, award-winning author, and I don't know how much time you got left. I mean, I could talk about this stuff for hours, but I know you probably have other things to do. I'm going to be talking to somebody in a couple weeks who has been abducted by aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you consider like a possibility? I mean, we know that there's
I
probably
think
aliens out there, but
yeah, I think it's a possibility. What I think about aliens is the UFOs and all that.
mm-hmm.
I think they're kind of observing us, and they're not going to interfere with us until we're ready to meet with them. They're not going to land on the lawn of the White House as they take me to see Joe Biden. They're got to be more advanced than we are if they've got the kind of aircraft or whatever that can get them here, or the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So they're further along the path, and eventually I think we will have interaction with them. But I think we got to move farther into the fourth density before that happens.
Right. It's so fascinating because I don't like when it comes to crypto, whatever, paranormal. Like I'm a skeptic of everything. I'm just naturally like that. However, I don't say it's not possible. Whether it's Sasquatch or the Chupacabra or whatever. I mean, there's stories out there for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to like the Greys, are they out there flying around? I mean, who's to say they're not? I mean,
my first job out of college, I was working in an ad agency. My boss was a retired Air Force colonel who was a pilot, and he told me that once he was flying his big cargo plane over the Atlantic, and he had a crew of, I think, 5 guys on that plane, and their UFO came up and rode right alongside them for a half an hour,
mm-hmm.
and then it just shot off to the right in a way that was, physically impossible as far as the kind of equipment we've got. And he put in he filled out a report, did the whole 9 yards, and all his crew vouched for it. And that was the last he heard of it.
Yeah.
But I have heard that the government is going to come out with some statements on UFOs pretty soon, sometime between now and June 1, I think I saw.
I was just looking for it because I thought I saw something in the news just the other day about somebody, a former Secretary of Defense or something.
I think it was what was the guy who was head of the intelligence agency, whole intelligence thing under Trump. He said that, yeah, UFOs exist. I mean, just recently on TV that UFOs exist, and that they're coming out with this report. And once that report is out and unclassified, he can tell us more about it.
Okay, so that's probably what you're talking about between now and June 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I can't wait to hear what that's all about.
Right, me too.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we part ways here?
Well, I'd just like to tell our listeners to, go to my website. It's just a simple website. It's S.H. Martin. S is in Stephen, H is in Hawley, and Martin, MARTIN.com. And up at the top there, you'll see a little button on the menu that says books. You can click on that, see what I've written, and you'll see all the covers, and you can click on any one of them, and it'll tell you more about it. And, maybe you'll find one you'd like to read.
Awesome. I actually have the website scrolling on the bottom of the screen that the viewers can see, and but this will be in podcast form. So thank you for spelling that out. www.shmartin.com. It's a really well put together website. There's some media on there and all that. Well, I really appreciate you coming on board today. I will send you the email about that information I was telling you about. And what do you got going on next for your schedule, your agenda? Any more books coming out?
Well, I'm trying to promote the books I've got. I've got a new novel out called The Luciferian Candidate,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pure fiction, but it does. I mean, I don't believe there's a real Lucifer,
Okay.
but I think there are bad guys on the other side, and that could be. Well, that's what this novel's about, so it's kind of fun. And I've got some other ideas, but I'm trying to think of what I want to write next. I don't know. Probably a novel this time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep reading your material because what I've read so far, the taboo knowledge and what is the other one that you sent me? It was
Life After Death, Powerful Evidence You Will Never Die. And I think I sent you a third one, didn't I?
well, you did send me The Force. The Force can be with you.
Yeah. The Force can be with you. Exactly.
When did you write that one?
A couple years ago, I guess.
Okay.
It's the Force being the Star Wars thing, and I think the Force does exist. And you need to go with the flow.
Right.
That's one of the things we touched on that a little bit already, I think.
All right. Well, my guest was Stephen Hawley Martin, an award-winning author. I appreciate you for coming on today.
Well, thank you, Jason. I enjoyed it. I really did.
All right. You have a good one. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, there you have it. That was, pardon me, Stephen Hawley Martin, award-winning author, and it was a pleasure to talk to him. It's pretty fascinating stuff. He's got a ton of books. You should check out his website. And while I was interviewing him, I actually also went and had dinner, which was pretty cool. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. That was also I did wanted to also add while I was interviewing him, I was thinking that I'm also going to be doing some other stuff here and there, some live bits. Hold on. Get rid of that stupid thing. Like I think here and there I'll do some Saturdays with some people in-house in studio and have some yucks, some laughs. So if you ever want to come down, if you're in the greater Columbus area and you want to come down, or if you want to fly in, as long as you've been vaccinated. Oh yeah. Let me see. Where's my deal? I have been vaccinated and I have proof somewhere. Right there. I've been vaccinated. Well, the first one. I get the second one on April 15th, which is just a few weeks away. But if you've been vaccinated and you want to come from out of state, you want to fly in just to do my program, I welcome you with open arms. We can have some fun. Also, let me get this. This is my outro music. Hopefully you can hear it. Hopefully you can hear it. Yeah, come on down, man. We can have some fun. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, just as long as it's not punching down on people. I'm not into that. Ultimately, I'd like to have my brother on. That'd be cool. He's been all over the world, a world traveler, a sojourner. Is that appropriate to say? I don't know. I'm not too sure if it is. Anyway, anybody who I've already interviewed, like live, you can come on back, man. Kent Grossweiler, I'd like to talk to you some more. some of my new friends on Facebook. There's a lot of artists out there I'd love to talk to. Anybody who has interests in the paranormal, Bucky, please come back. I love you. I love what you do. It's great stuff. Let me see. There's other people I'd like to come on. One person, but they canceled me. Sorry. Because I was nice. Let me see. Marcus Blackwell, I'd love to have you on. Calling you out. Let me see. Who else? I don't know. Anyway, next week I will have Nicole Coleman. She is an author, and that was way off. And the week after that will be the person who, let's just do this other outro, who was abducted. There we go. This one's way too short. How about this one? That was a little bit better. Sorry. This is my first real live producing gig here. You gotta appreciate the camera with the slider. I don't know, some people might not like it. F you. Anyway, you know, sometimes I think I'm just talking just to hear my own voice. But goddamn right I am. Nothing wrong with that. So, anyway. That's all I got to say for the yeah. That's it. I'm just going to listen to this song out.